Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. In my last video, I shared one of the main parenting shift that I made. I stopped focusing on rules and started focusing more on values because I think I just got to a point where I said, you know what, Phinnah, Chichi, these rules, as these kids are growing, these rules are going to expire. But these values that we're talking about, they won't expire. And I actually noticed that speaking about values was more conversational. Because when I spoke about rules, it was as if I was given the rules. But when I spoke about values, we all had things to say about it. That's what I noticed about it. It was an easier conversation. It was a conversation that everybody got involved in. And so I thought, you know what, let's just continue on this values conversation. And we've been talking about values now for years, even up till now, which I love so much. Um, so I moved from rules, focusing on rules, to focusing on values. So what I want to do today, and actually, if you haven't watched the first video I posted last week, please go and watch it because it gives you the foundation of what we're going to talk about today. I think what I want to talk to you today about, I want to share 5 values that we consistently talked about and used and modeled and lived at home. I mean, there's so many other values. This is not just, it's not about just taking these 5 values and running with it, but these are the values that really was foundational for us and continued. We continued to see a few of these values still come across even now. And I think the beautiful thing about values is that even if, say, for example, you choose 5 values now, doesn't mean that you're never going to use. You're going if you choose another set of values, you're going to get rid of these ones. No, you already built them. They're already part of you, and that's what values is about. And that's one thing I love about values because values becomes your identity. There's something to do with identity and values that connects very well. So that if you're talking about integrity and we're saying integrity is part of our values, you absorb it, or the children absorb it as part of their identity. So you then don't see many situations where they're telling lies because they're not telling lies because it's part of their identity not to tell lies. It's part of their identity to be truthful. And I know I'm jumping what I need to say. Maybe I'll come back to this part on integrity when I talk about integrity as a value. Yeah, I hope I don't forget it. Okay. I'll come back to that because I want to go according to how I planned it. So one of the values that we started with, and I tell you something about this, it's not as if I say, oh, let's talk about values in my home today. No, I I don't want to use the word even I stumbled on it. I will tell you what happened, especially for this first one. This first one, teamwork. I think with teamwork, we used to have rotas. Okay, if Tamara is going to do the counter today, Kenny will do the dishes, Daniel will sweep the floor, Michael will do the. So we had different roles for different people, and it used to run. I think it used to be one day whoever is going to do dishes, and then the next day somebody else will now rotate. I think it was something like that. And there was a time I can't remember what it was specifically, but let's say, for example, it was a case where Tamara said, "Oh, Kenny, it's your turn to do this." Kenny said, "No, no, no, it's not your turn. You didn't do it yesterday, so that means you now need to do it today because you missed doing it yesterday." So there was all that conversation going on, and I was like, "Guys, we're a team. We're a team. Let's." So that conversation led into we're teamwork. It's teamwork. I'm doing the cooking. You're doing this. It's teamwork. Okay, Tamara, if you didn't do it, that means you owe it for us. You have to replace. You have to do it today. So there was just lots of negotiations coming up, but that was where that's what I remember, that teamwork then became part of the conversation. So I used to use teamwork to say, okay, guys, teamwork. If someone is saying, oh, it's not their turn or it's their turn, if there's all that conversation, everything comes back to teamwork. How did it work for the team? We are all a team. And even when I used to talk to them, or when I'm telling them how proud I am, I tell them together, I am proud of all of you. What would I do without all of you? So I really I made sure that a lot of my talks about them was as a team. Of course, me and my kids will have one-to-one conversations, but I was very conscious to make sure that when they were together, when we were all together, I would say something that connects all of them. I said, are you guys? And we call ourselves leaders. Everybody, we grew up, I used to call them leaders, that they're all leaders. And so I would say, oh, wow, you guys are all leaders. So I would always talk in team phrases, team worded, you know what I mean? So teamwork was a big one for us. And I felt that that value of teamwork, that it made me, I wasn't policing them all the time. When is your turn to do this? Guys, remember, you have to do this. There was not, I don't remember a lot of telling offs because of house chores. Yeah. It used to be conversations, and it will come back again to teamwork. And so this is why I valued teamwork. When I look back, I say, oh, that really made the conversations about doing house chores and all that stuff, that really made it, I don't want to use the word easier, but there was more cooperation. Yeah, there was more, they cooperated more when it was based on values rather than based on rules. You must do this, you must do that. So that's what I picked up from that, and that's what I said I would definitely share with parents. So that helped a lot. That helped a lot. Them knowing that whatever they're doing it as a contribution to the family. And we always used to say, oh, we in the KG family we do this, in the KG family we do this. So you bring the values into their identity as who they are. So with your surname, bring that into the picture. This is who we are as a family. So it helped. It helped. It helped a lot. It helped a lot. Okay. And I think for me, what I want to ask you as a parent is, what responsibilities in your home could become opportunities to teach your children about teamwork? Yeah, so just kind of think about that and see how that plays out. But bringing in values rather than rules really does help in the conversations, especially as they're getting older, like in the teen years, those teen years. Oh, because those are very conversational times, where you do get their cooperation and their collaboration when you speak more of values. Because, and again, because they know that those values help them. Because if you're saying, oh, you must do the dishes, you must do this, sometimes teenagers are asking, but what's that going to help me do? What's that going to help me in my life? Right, in their teenagers, they're now thinking about their own lives. How is this gonna benefit me? That's the kind of question that they're asking. And so when you bring it through as a value, then they know that that's going to benefit them. Because teamwork, okay, we're doing it and we're talking about it at home, they're going to need teamwork skills in school. They're going to need it at work, wherever they go in life. They're going to need to be able to work very well in a team. So that teamwork is beneficial for them. You see what I mean? Yes. So that's the trick of the trade. Number two was hard work. Hard work was something that I remember always saying, that we are hardworking people. Our family is, we're just hardworking. Our parents were very hardworking. Our parents came over, they did work, they worked hard. So there was a lot of talk about our family being a family of hard workers, being a family of success. This person worked hard to achieve this uncle worked hard to achieve this. So hard work was a conversation and a value that we all talked about. And of course, I modeled hard work as well, because yes, I modeled hard work because we're all hardworking. But we talked about it. So it's not, because the thing is not just about doing it, because sometimes parents are hardworking, and if they don't talk about it to their children, children assume that that kind of hard work is for parents only. That's why we've got to talk about what we're doing. Because it's not just that you're modeling and you're going to work and you're being a hard worker, but if you're not bringing it and speaking it in the language that your children understand, your children will always think that that hard work is separate from them. That's what adults do. But you don't want that. You want them to embrace hard work even right now, because hard work for us, hard work ended up covering. This is what I noticed about the value of hard work. Hard work ended up covering things like homework, discipline, effort, consistency, responsibility. I don't remember. And that's why sometimes when people talk, and then let me tell you what hard work covered as well. Hard work covered the use of their phone. Because I started looking back and I'm thinking, when I hear parents say, oh, and I had to seize their phone, I had to lock up their phone, I cannot relate. And I tell you why I can't relate. Because hard work became such a conversation that we had. Everyone knew what was going to distract the hard work. So you're saying, okay, if you're spending so much time on your phone, is that going to benefit you? And I'm not saying don't spend time on your phone, because I had those kind of conversations where I say, I was never against phone. For me, it was about building their discipline around phone, because I knew this phone was here to stay. Phones are here to stay. So it's more about building their discipline around phone than taking the phone away from them. Taking the phone away from them, again, that's a rule that's going to expire very soon. By the time they're how old, you won't be able to take their phones away from them. So why don't we build the discipline around their phones? And building the discipline around their phones, values helps that as well. Because everyone's now saying, okay, no, I'm going to achieve. I'm going to hard work. I've got to revise. I've got to this. So if we're revising, a lot of times, I remember my son, they used to come and put their phones downstairs, keep their phones downstairs, and then walk upstairs. And then afterwards, come and take their phone. So phone was not a, I don't want to use the word bone of contention. What am I supposed to say? Bone was not an issue. Phone was not an issue. Am I saying that my children didn't go on their phones? Oh, no, no, no. Please don't get it twisted. My daughter, K dramas. Oh my God. Even during her GCSEs. you had to I had to trust her. I had to trust the hard work skills and hard work value that she had already built. If not, Tamara, an exam was coming up the next day. When she come back from school, she will still have time to at least watch one K drama before she will go back and do her studying. But you just had to trust it. But I think that's what talking about values helped us to do. It kept me calm. I wasn't worried about her. I said, Tamara, K drama again, this woman, and we'll laugh about it. But she will finish watching the K drama, go and study. And her results showed it. So the more I'm even talking about it, the more I know. And because I saw what it did for my children, that's why I know that the topic of values has got to be embedded in our homes. It's got to be embedded, because these values don't go away. They're now young adults, and still everyone's hardworking in their own different ways. The value hasn't gone, but it started from when they were young, and that's the difference. That is the difference. That's the difference. The third value I'm going to share here, resilience. Resilience was huge because my kids went through a lot. And I think looking back, I'm just thinking, if we weren't talking about resilience as much as we were talking about, how would my kids have coped with lots of the disappointments they went through, friendship issues, disappointments, yeah, rejection letters, auditions, not, we'll get to how many stages of auditions, and they'll tell you sorry. Yeah, there was quite a lot. When I look back, I'm thinking, oh, well, no, they did go through quite a lot. But because we spoke about resilience, because resilience is key in everything that our children are doing. And I tell you something, resilience is one value that they're still talking about today. So even when we did our values conversation in January this year, because we now do it like annually, when we did our values conversation, everyone still chose resilience, because now that they're much older, we say, okay, what values are you choosing for the year? What values are you choosing for the year? Resilience was still part of everybody's values, including mine. So that resilience has come through. I don't remember hearing teamwork this time around, but definitely resilience is definitely something that everyone still talked about, because resilience, we still need resilience in our workplaces, in everything we're doing, we still need resilience. And children are growing up in a world today where there's a lot of pressure. So resilience becomes one of those values that needs to be embedded in our children, because life happens. Life happens to everyone, including our children. Friendships are going to change. People are going to disappoint them. Exams may not go well. They may not get the school that they wanted. They may not get the sports team that they wanted. So many things can go wrong. But resilience, resilience will help them rise up from that disappointment. That's what resilience will do. Resilience will help them recover. And so resilience is very, very vital. Very, very vital. Because they're going to get disappointed. They're going to sometimes get disappointed. But the key with resilience is that they don't stay defeated. They're able to rise up and rise up without shame, rise up without judgment, rise up without condemnation, rise up knowing that they're going to give this another shot. They're going to give it another chance. We don't want them to give up in life. And so resilience is very, very vital. And I felt that resilience covered all those things, those rejections, those, sometimes when they get rejected like this, I will say, what can I say to this kid at this moment? What can I say that can make them feel better? I remember sometimes we're driving, and like maybe let me give you an example with my son Kenny, and maybe they lost a game or he lost a game or he didn't win as much as he wanted to. And as I'm driving, I'm thinking, what can I say in this moment? And there's no need to say, don't worry about it, because that's dismissing the emotion. So I was very conscious to let silence do the work. You okay? Okay, cool. But then we're driving. Let silence do the work. Because what I noticed then is that in a lot of the silence, then there was more time to reflect. And afterwards, we will still talk about it. But I made sure I didn't talk about it in the car as we were going back home. Because that's the wrong time to talk about something that has happened that didn't work well. Because some parents are tempted to work, oh, well, maybe next time, maybe you can do this, or don't worry. Or now, silence do some work. Because in the silence, what I noticed back then is that in the silence, then there was a lot of reflection. And then Kenny was able to say, okay, you know what? Oh, okay. Maybe next time I will do more of this. I'll sleep more, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. But, there's another game next time. And that was resilience in practice. Oh, it was tough. It was tough. But I noticed, I observed a lot in those moments. And I was very careful not to dismiss the disappointment. I was very careful, even when, one of them would talk about, like maybe my daughter would tell me about a friendship issue or stuff. I was very, very intentional not to dismiss it and not to say, oh, don't worry, you can make other friends. No, 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 no. We don't do that with that. So resilience was a big one, or has been a big one. So it's key. And I think we need to talk more about resilience, because that's what's going to give our children that toughness. I think sometimes parents mistake being harsh on our children to build their resilience. Resilience is not built through harshness. No, that's not resilience. Resilience is that ability to recover and recover in a healthy way. Because sometimes our generation can prove that they're tough and they're able to move on, but they've probably moved on physically, but not emotionally and not mentally. And so there's a lot of stuff on that. So resilience is something that we still need to talk about more and more. The fourth value is integrity. So I'm going to go back to what I was saying that last time, where we're at the beginning. So with integrity, what I noticed about integrity was about honesty. And the beautiful thing about integrity, as I was talking about earlier, is that integrity becomes an identity, so that our children were able to say the truth without being afraid of the consequences. And I'll tell you a story on integrity. I'm sure Tamara is going to watch this video at some point. So there was a time, all of a sudden, the toilet brush in the bathroom disappeared. And so dad was asking, so my husband was asking, what happened? Where's the brush? And I don't know. Everybody was like, I don't know. And honestly, I didn't know. I don't even know how that disappeared. So everybody said, no, don't know. We don't know. And so no one admitted it. So of course he replaced it. But he was like, how can that brush just walk away from the house? How can that brush just disappear from the house? And so, everybody just continued anyway. And then later on, my daughter said that she accidentally broke it. And so she didn't want to just leave it there or admit it because she thought she was going to get in trouble. But she confided that in me. And oh my God, I would say we laughed, but I was like, oh my God. But what I observed, what I picked up from that is sometimes children don't tell a lie because they want to tell a lie or because they enjoy telling a lie. I think children do that because they're scared of what's going to happen. They're scared. They can't even imagine what's going to happen. And because they didn't do that intentionally, Do you see what I mean? So sometimes if a kid did something intentionally, maybe the kid would say, well, I know because I did this, this is what's going to happen. But this is not something that is done normally. And so she was scared of whatever the consequences would be. And she just didn't want to face the consequences. So she just didn't admit it. But she ended up admitting it to me because she felt safe enough to admit it to me. And this is not a against each other. No, no, no. This is not it. It's just I brought this story or this story. I just shared this story to so that we can see why sometimes our children may not admit to things that they've done. So we need to create an environment where they feel safe to admit what they've done, and bringing it in as a value, it then brings it in as an identity. So you know that you're a person of integrity. So if something happens, you're honest about it. You're able to be accountable. You do the right thing because it's part of your identity. So that's another way to bring that in. I know a lot of parents who tell me, Phinnah, what should I do? My child is always telling me lies. And this is what I always give them this as a solution. Bring in integrity as part of your values. So that is what I share with them. The last value, fifth value, is respect. And respect is a big thing in our homes. Many African homes, respect is a big thing. Um, but I think with respect, I always tell people, and this is what I did with my kids as well. Respect is a two-way street. Respect is not just a top down or no. Respect is not just a bottom up way of life. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. So yes, we grew up with everybody saying respect your elders, respect your parents, and yes, that's still a rule. That's still a value. That is still a value that still needs to hold strong. Respect your parents, respect your elders. That's still fine. But elders, we've got to respect children too. Children are human beings. We've got to respect children too, because treat others the way you want to be treated. And so there's no need to be disrespectful to children and then expect them to respect you. It's a two-way street. And it even makes it easier. I'll be honest. When you respect your children, it makes it easier for them to respect you, because when you respect your children, you're modeling respect. You're modeling how they should respect you. And so that's the key with respect. And for me, respect is not about fear. Respect is not silence. Respect is not losing your voice. Respect just means valuing people, listening. That's respect. Speaking with honor, respecting emotions, respecting boundaries, respecting differences. And one thing that I really strongly believe is that the more we respect our children, the more our children will respect us. So the question here is, when your child speaks, do they feel heard? Even when the answer is no. Even when you're saying, no, you're not going to do this, or no, you're not going to do that, are you saying it with respect? And that's the key, because respect is such a big value. And when our children feel respected, they feel heard, they feel seen, they feel valued. It connects. And when they feel heard, seen, and valued, it connects to their confidence. It connects to their self-esteem. It connects to their ability to say no to negative peer pressure. It connects to their ability to have that sense of belonging in the home. So there's a lot of connections with respect. So let's learn to respect them as well as them respecting us. That is really key. So teamwork, hard work, resilience, integrity, respect. Those are the five values that I want to share with us today, or that I've shared with us today. And what I'm going to do for next week's video, I'm going to share in next week's video how we can teach these values to our children at the different age stages. So the 0 to 5, 6 to 10, all that, so that you can see the language. Because the way you're going to speak about integrity to a 13-year-old is not the same way you're going to speak about integrity to a 5-year-old. So those are going to be different. So that's what we're going to share next week. For the time being, please share this video, like it if this resonated with you. What are your thoughts about values? How are you speaking about values in your home? And what have you learned differently from what I've shared today on values? I look forward to seeing you next week, where I'm going to share that other practical part of what you do for the different age cohorts for our children. I trust that this video has helped. I've enjoyed talking and sharing about it, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Like the video, share the video, subscribe as well. I want to see you subscribe so that you don't miss out on all the other videos that I'm going to be sharing here as well. I will see you later. Remember, don't forget this. Don't forget this, that I'm rooting for you all the way. You take care. God bless. I will see you next week. Take care.